Very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you to today's session on adventure and wildlife, the untapped potential of incredible India. We are saying untapped potential because there are numerous states that offer adventure tourism to the avid travelers that are yet to be explored by many foreign travelers. Moreover, India's rich and diverse wildlife has always drawn the attention of nature lovers from around the globe. India is home to the mighty Himalayas, long coastline, and vast desert area. Today's session will focus on promoting various destinations of India that offer the best of experiences on adventure and wildlife tourism. May I request the team to play the incredible India video on adventure and wildlife tourism, please?
Incredible India.
Thank you, team. May I now request Mr. G. Kamalavardhana Rao, Director General, Ministry of Tourism, for his keynote address. Mr. G. Kamalavardhana Rao is currently the Director General of the Ministry of Tourism. He is also the Managing Director of the Indian Tourism Development Corporation. He is an Indian Administrative Service Officer of 1999 batch of Kerala cadre. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Minister of Tourism, Government of India, I welcome all the participants to this session on adventure and wildlife, the untapped potential of incredible India. I'm glad that I'm here and being with you today on behalf of Minister of Tourism. As everybody knows that India is endowed with rich wildlife, coastline, and the mountains. We have everything, whatever an adventure seeker expects and he wants, and where he goes for any kind of adventure, it is available in India with 7,500 kilometers of coastline, with 24% of the wildlife coverage. Forest coverage in India is more than 24%, and you have the best of the mountaineering ranges in the world, spanning from 2,400 kilometers. 2,400 kilometers is what Indian Himalayan range offers any adventure trekker. So with the policies which are in place in promotion of adventure tourism and to protect wildlife tourism, many foreigners, of course, domestic tourism already is increasing on its way to the new heights. But as far as international tourism is concerned, as far as foreign footfalls are concerned, everybody, whenever they think about wildlife, they think about Masai Mara and other important destinations, international destinations in Africa. But as rightly said, it is an untapped potential. India, which has got more than 544 wildlife sanctuaries and 100 national parks, is certainly not tapped or certainly not publicized as much as it ought to have been publicized to the international tourists. So whether the tiger reserves, whether it is rhinos, whether it is elephant sanctuaries, or Gir lion, the most popular Asiatic lion in Gir in Gujarat. So these are the places where many captive audience come and visitors. In our surveys are mentioning that people from Europe and people from USA, they come directly to these sanctuaries like Ranthambore and Assam, Kaziranga, and Kanha National Park in Madhya Pradesh. These popular destinations, they come and just spend their time, and they also review. We start reading many of the reviews in international magazines, National Geography, Condé Nast, and other newspapers about the greatness of our own wildlife sanctuaries and the wildlife, how it is improving and how it is being protected. So when I'm talking about the policies, it is very important for any government to protect its own environment, protect its own wildlife. We are there with the acts. All important acts are in place. All important rules and regulations are in place as far as wildlife protection is concerned. And the coastline protection is concerned, we have CRZ Act, which is in place, and the CRZ regulations are followed. So you talk about the coastal, the adventure into the water sports, whatever water sports activities which can be done anywhere, whether it is in Florida or Copacabana, Rio de Janeiro, or any place that you think about the water sports which can be held here in India. And wonderful coastline is given to us by nature. On the west coast, maybe east coast is not as popular as west coast. But west coast, you have Goa, you have Kollam and the Mangalore, and a few parts of Diu Daman can be explored into the water sports of the snorkeling and the scuba diving. All are available, and associations are very actively taking part in promoting adventure tourism. So when we talk about adventure tourism, we are giving lots of promotional support from the ministry, and people, most of the adventure sports here in India are related to motorbiking, cycling, mountaineering, and trekking. So for trekking, people go to Kashmir and Leh, Ladakh. So when the ministry did, as a part of this outreach program, when we went and discussed with the authorities there in Leh, Ladakh, and Northeast, so everybody says about the medical facilities to be provided at the base camps and throughout the mountaineering, throughout the trekking. Medical facilities is the only important aspect which they see as a major challenge. So state governments are also involved in promoting adventure tourism, and the central government is also, different departments are coming together to see that they address this challenge of the trekkers. Younger generation, through their formation of their clubs, adventure clubs and adventure federations, they are trying to promote skiing in a big way in Kashmir. We have a skiing institute which was established by Minister of Tourism in Gulmarg, Kashmir, where people are exhausted with Alps in Europe. They would like to come to different parts of the world, and India is identified, and Gulmarg is identified as one of the alternative skiing destinations, since Alps is already saturated with so much of traffic, and you have slopes, more than 200 to 300 good slopes which are identified by Adventure Club in the Skiing Institute in Gulmarg. And all those who are involved in this promotion of the skiing in Gulmarg, they tell us, they inform us, and they also inform the World Skiing Federation that they should be coming here in the peak season of January, February, March. These 3 months are very important, where they come and do the skiing and go on. But infrastructure facilities have to be promoted in big way as far as skiing is concerned, because the kind of international infrastructure which is available there in Alps and other parts of the world will have to be created in Gulmarg also. And whatever existing infrastructure is there, it is catering to the needs, but certainly we'll be taking up the state of the art infrastructure will be created in near future. Ministry is planning to take it in a big way. We would like to have international tournaments, international skiing competitions. Maybe by next year, next winter, we would like to host international tournament here if everything goes well. We wanted to have it last year itself, but this Corona has attacked us. Corona has spoiled everybody's dreams. But we are hoping. Hope is the only oxygen that we have with us, and the entire mankind is suffering in a bad way. But I'm sure that as far as adventure tourism is concerned, India will emerge as a major destination. We have and land-based adventure schemes in all-terrain vehicle tours, bungee jumping, jeep safaris, mountaineer biking, mountaineering, nature walks, bird watching, rock climbing, skiing, snowboarding, trekking, wildlife safaris. So zip wires and high rope courses. These are the things which we have identified, Minister has identified. As far as water-based tourism activities are concerned, hiking, sea kayaking, river rafting, river cruising, scuba diving, snorkeling, which I mentioned, and air-based adventure includes hot air ballooning, paragliding, hang gliding, parasailing, ski diving. So these adventure tour federations, are identifying new places for paragliding, new places for cycling and skydiving. Wherever they are asking, they're approaching the state governments are also approaching Minister of Tourism. We are trying to give them all kinds of support. And if you see some state governments which are coming forward in a big way, you have Jim Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand, Ranthambore National, Rajasthan, and Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa. These are the states which are taking Kashmir. Of course, I mentioned to you is far ahead as far as initiatives are concerned in this adventure tourism. New guidelines are provided by the ministry, and recently ministry has come out with the formation of tourism clubs in the schools and colleges. So today's students, it is the responsibility of every school to see that a child knows something about his own culture, his own heritage. Honorable Prime Minister keeps mentioning in his speeches that every student of this country should know about his heritage and local areas. So when the tourism clubs are formed in the schools and colleges, they will try to know something about the culture there, and they'll go to nearby places. It can be mountain, it can be forts, it can be museums. So these clubs will make a calendar of events which include adventure tourism. We are trying to tell them to have more curriculum, more activities under adventure tourism. It can be cycling, it can be motorcycling, it can be mountaineering and rope climbing, so whatnot. So it is the sky is the limit for them to think about adventure sports. So these tourism clubs, we are expecting that they will provide that kind of ecosystem in the school, and also they will train them and orient them as a tourist. So getting oriented as a citizen, when you become an adult, you become a tourist in future. In other places, what you are seeing, the tourism last 20 years or 20 to 15 years, we started people going from one place to other place as a tourist. Earlier, 25 years back, tourism was not so popular. But now people are traveling a lot, trying to see new places, trying to do some kind of adventure in their life. So whether it's bungee jumping or skydiving, these are things that are happening which is attracting the younger generation a lot. So we state governments are trying to promote these activities, and I'm sure these tourism clubs which are coming up will certainly give that orientation to the students. When they become adults, they will take it up. Future generation will see the result of all our efforts, the present efforts. So with this, I would like to conclude. These are the thoughts that I want to share. I'm sure we will be taking all the inputs from the stakeholders, adventure clubs, and the state governments, and we'll try to formulate policies which will strengthen and also promote adventure tourism and wildlife tourism in India. And we are ready to take any kind of inputs. I'm sure this kind of workshop, this kind of seminars at the national level, international level, will help us in having joint collaborations with other countries. And I'm sure Dubai Expo, if in case any countries are participating, any watching, they can also enter into a collaborative effort with the Ministry of Tourism. Whether it is exchange of ideas, whether it is exchange of people to people interaction also is something which the Minister of External Affairs takes very seriously. And we will try to have an MOU with any country or adventure clubs which are there in other countries, that also we are willing to enter into agreement with. We are in touch with ambassadors. Other countries have ambassadors, particularly African, our Indian ambassadors in Africa. We said that whether it is Kenya or Nigeria, let there be an exchange of knowledge. Let there be an exchange of activities in forest department, as far as wildlife is concerned, and adventure tourism also. We can have interactive sessions with them and collaborative efforts. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I thank Vicky, which organized, and along with Adventure Clubs, Adventure Federation. I thank you once again from the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Thank you so much, and namaskar.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Vaibhav Kala, Officiating President, Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, for his address. Mr. Vaibhav Kala is the Vice President of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India and is the founder of Aquaterra Adventures, which is the only adventure company on the 2008 and 2009 list of the best adventure companies on earth as per the National Geographic Society. A river runner and mountain guide himself, he has helped in the opening up of several remote Himalayan valleys and river running in the national adventure tourism landscape and guided on most continents on the planet. Mr. Kala is also the recipient of the Hall of Fame from the Adventure Tour Operator Associations of India, Green Hotelier Award, and also the Outlook Award for Best Boutique Tour Operator in 2014. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sonam. Sri Rao, sir, thank you for your welcome address. Absolutely delighted to be here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and greetings to my colleagues at the amazing panel to follow, and of course the states that are presenting today. And Vicky, thank you for setting this up. I'm honored to be able to be part of the Indian effort to showcase our country as one of the top adventure and wildlife destinations on the planet. As adventure tourism globally hurtles to be about a US dollar 1.6 trillion industry by 2026, travelers are seeking more outdoor, experiential, and fun experiences the world over. The 2018 Travel Trends report states that a majority of travelers want to do things like recharge deep in nature, thrills in a stunning location, and sustainable adventure travel. India has incredible potential to offer all of these and more. As adventure travel has grown exponentially in India over the last 2 decades, we have one of the most enviable natural resources in the world with mind-boggling comparative advantages of natural wonders and more. I'm here not to wax eloquent about industry, but here to invite you to consider an Indian adventure soon. We have, as Sri Rao said, 3,240 kilometers of coastlines, 0.7 million square kilometers of forests, Himalayan ranges that stretch over 2,400 kilometers. 70% of the entire Indian Himalayan range lies within India. We have 420,000 square kilometers of deserts that lie in our country, more than 14,000 kilometers of rivers, counting only the 8 longest rivers in India. Unclimbed peaks, unexplored caves, virgin rivers, remote Himalayan treks, uncharted rivers, the list is endless. Cultures that are unique, diverse, and all-encompassing. We have the largest segment of the greatest mountain chain in the world. We are one of the top 3 countries with 6,000 plus meter peaks and the most 7,000 meter plus mountains. We are the only country with a combination of a golden and silver desert. We also have equatorial and tropical rainforest to vast alpine regions, tropical to alpine wetlands, a functional volcano, and the largest mangroves in the world. We have 7 navigable rivers and 105 minor and whitewater rivers. Not only this, we have the largest and arguably the best coral islands of the world. In such a diverse landscape, we have the greatest varieties of cats and 1,272 bird species, second only to Africa. No wonder then, as per the World Economic Forum's travel and tourism competitiveness rankings, we are amongst the top 10 in the world for our natural heritage. India is the first country to submit a progress on a Bond Challenge pledge to restore forests of 21 million hectares by 2030, out of which 9.8 million hectares has already been treated since 2011. We are ranked as the 6th richest nation in the world for its natural assets that can attract eco-tourists. Yet, as a new year begins in 2022, we've already seen 2 years of the largest ever disruption the travel industry has ever experienced. Although we endured wave after wave, I'm happy to report that our community, our industry continues to innovate, adapt, and rebuild, survive and thrive. The first signs of bloom are visible with top-notch SOPs, confidence-building operations ready to solve for everything that has been thrown at us over the last 2 years. The Adventure Tour Operators Association of India was founded in 1994 and represents interests of over 15,000 stakeholders and has been instrumental in establishing national safety guidelines for 29 adventure travel verticals, SOPs for post-COVID-19 protocols for guests, running skill-building workshops, guide training programs, wilderness first aid certifications, liaising with central and state governments to formulate policy, processes, working to grant recognition of adventure tour companies, running cleanup campaigns, and promoting responsible tourism. We've also been the watchdog for accident reporting, risk mitigation, controlling mass tourism in fragile areas, and ensuring operations remain authentic, safe, and credible. Adventure travel ensures 65 to 90% of the tourism dollar remains in the regions we work in. These go directly to families, vendors, transporters, suppliers, workers, engaged directly with operations. Responsible adventure tourism minimizes negative social, economic, environmental impacts. It generates great economic upsides for locals and offers them direct access to industry. It plays a huge role in the conservation of natural and cultural heritage and a great understanding of local, cultural, social, and environmental issues. With the advent of what may potentially be a massive third wave, the priority is to keep safe, stay responsible, keep our teams out of harm's way, and to keep clients safe in the outdoor arena. Most importantly, we are striving to offer products that can follow good practices with small bubble groups, keeping the learnings from the first and the second waves top of mind. We feel this is possible and may be the only approach to keep operations alive and sustainable. We're starting to see positive vibes, travel trends that have been almost at par with pre-pandemic levels, if not more. A widespread recovery is surely in the offing. We believe that the next 5 years will be massive for adventure travel. The Indian adventure travel community is bouncing back, growing, rebuilding, and anyone who's watching and listening has done very well to survive these biblical times. Your next plan must include a trip to the great outdoors. We are ready and we are waiting, and India is ready to welcome you back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Pradeep Murthy, Honorary Treasurer, Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, for his presentation on adventure tourism in India. Mr. Pradeep Murthy is the founder of Muddy Boots Vacations and the Honorary Treasurer of the National Executive of Adventure Tour Operator Associations of India. He is also a serving member of the Kerala State Planning Board, Tourism Working Group, and the Kerala State Advisory Board for Adventure Tourism. In addition to being a member of the BIS Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Government of India, and an empaneled expert with the BIS. Mr. Murthy is a BTech in Electronics from NIT, Calicut, and MBA from IIM Bangalore, and has previously worked in Tier 1 consultancies such as Accenture and Deloitte. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sunam. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My very great pleasure to be here today afternoon. Many thanks to the Government of India, especially the Ministry of Tourism, for arranging this fantastic session to present India to the world, and to FICCI for doing all the hard work at the back end to make sure things actually happen on the ground. It's always a challenge to speak after Vaibhav and Sri Rao. They have so eloquently already said so much of what I would like to say. So I perhaps will have to seek your pardon in advance to perhaps expand a little bit on the kind of points that they made already. I think so today my job is to talk to you about adventure tourism in India, and I kind of split up my presentation into a few major sections. And I think the first thing we want to talk about is the market itself. As the previous speakers said, today, as of 2019, that's the global tourism market just for adventure. It's 609 billion. It's a huge, huge number, and it's rapidly growing to hit and estimated to reach about 1.8 trillion by 2027. For comparison's sake, India's economy is expected to hit about 3 trillion very soon. And that's the kind of markets we're talking about, just for what is sometimes considered a niche market for tourism. So 1.8 trillion is a very big number. And of that, I think a large percentage of that market is for soft adventure. This is what most people want, because a large part of that market is also consisting of the family segment. More than $500 million belongs to the family segment, and the kind of things they want to do is not extreme adventure. They want to do things that are approachable, that are easy to do, as we will see as we go forward. They want to do the kind of things that everybody everybody in a fairly vast age group can actually aspire to do without being super fit. And I think that is a market we all would like to really address. And as we will see again, as we go down this presentation, India offers immense potential for addressing this enormous market. Our current inbound flows stand at about 10 million. And I think adventure tourism just on its own offers a terrific opportunity to perhaps increase that multifold with perhaps a little bit of work that we need to do. We have done some great progress, as we will see further as I go down my presentation. There were some recent surveys that have happened. This is from 2019, and it's fantastic that 59% or close to 2/3 of the market want some form of adventure in their holiday. This is the Generation Z travelers, and that is those who are born after 1995. And before somebody says that these are youngsters and obviously they want adventure, the next slide is about Generation X travelers, which is perhaps the age group many of us belong to. And 42% of that, yes, a smaller number than 59, of course, but still 42% of a fairly enormous market like what India offers is a very, very large number. And that's again the kind of market that we want to address. This is again Indian figures, and I'm sure that when you extrapolate this into a global audience, the kind of tourism markets that we are looking at addressing through soft adventure is probably numbers in several millions. The number of travelers who want to do something new. Again, this is a very often expressed sentiment that comes up in almost every survey that we have done so far. Again, over 2/3 of the market wants to do something new. And the kind of things that they want to do, some of these were alluded to by Vaibhav when he spoke. The kind of things they want to do, you can see, are things like sustainable adventure travel, thrills in a stunning location, the one-off experience you can't get elsewhere, recharging deep in nature, a crazy story to take home. These are the kind of words that we use when something new. And I think that's the kind of market we really, really want to. And I think these numbers kind of absolutely prove that there is an immense market that is out there to actually address and grow. So as we, so what we are seeing really over the last perhaps decade at least is there's been a step change in the way the market is looking at holidays. If we cast our mind back, maybe a decade or so back, or maybe a bit earlier, I think the first thing when we decided to go visit, say, place X, was the first thing that we typically used to look for is where are we going to stay, and then we would look at which resort we wanted to stay at, and then we would find out what we could do at that resort or perhaps nearby. I think there's a step change. I think the first question most people seem to be asking today is what do we do when we go to place X? And so what they're seeking are these experiences. It's not about so much about where they stay. Of course, that's become the second question, but the first question is now what do we do? And those are the experiences people want to do. Experiences are things that people want to take home, because I think as time has gone by and as the world has changed, I think our consumers are realizing that experiences last your lifetime. And that is what adventure offers you so much so. There's a huge number of increase in the number of domestic travelers, especially the last couple of years. I think a lot of us have seen that the domestic market has taken to outdoor and adventure activities, nature-based activities in a quite a significant manner. Yes, it's had a bit of downfall in some places, but on the whole, I think it's a very welcome change in the market. We have innumerable portals, I think, offering activity-oriented bookings, activity experiences, nature experiences, treks, safaris, skiing, cycling, rafting, you name it. I think every single online platform worth its salt offers some kind of activity options. And of course, there are very dedicated booking portals which offer activities. The other interesting thing that we are seeing in the market is that older age groups are also becoming far more adventurous. They want to do new things. They want to experience things that they perhaps have missed out in their younger years. A survey by Trilophilia dating back to 2018 forms the basis of that first comment, which suggests there's about a 9% increase in 30 plus age group adventure travelers. And in India too, India follows a global trend as well. So soft adventure and kid-friendly activities, they contribute more than 70% of all preferred activities. And I think that is a message that we are trying to drive home. We need to, and we are focusing more and more on providing soft adventure activities, nature-based activities that are easier to do and are very accessible to a larger segment of the market. Now, I think so clearly there is a market that we can address, and I think the second part of my second part of the presentation is something that both Sri Rao and Vaibhav spoke about in a lot more detail. The potential that we have in India to actually address this market. I don't think there is much of a question about it for most people, but then again, I think it's always worth going back and revisiting the kind of potential that we have. We have 7 natural heritage sites in India. These include the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Kevladev Sanctuary, the Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, Kaziranga, and Nanda Devi, the Sundarbans. I think those are the 7. And I think that is, I think that the 5th ranked in the world. I think only China, Australia, USA, Russia, and Canada have more natural heritage sites than we do. And if you look at the rest of the Southeast Asian countries that we are often touted as being in competition with, I think they fall significantly behind, at least on this one score. And here's a great competitive advantage for India when we are trying to address the world market for adventure and outdoor activities. That's our ranking in terms of the forested area that we have. We have over 700,000 square kilometers of forest. The good news is that there has been some increase in that, and that is again a very welcome trend. In terms of wildlife spotting, India offers unparalleled opportunities for wildlife spotting. I think there are probably very few countries in the world where the options to sight such an enormous variety of flora and fauna can be found. Whether it's the Himalayas or whether it's the Western Ghats or perhaps one of the 550 odd sanctuaries and wildlife parks that we have. I think the opportunity to spot big cats, elephants, a variety of mammals and reptiles and even other things like butterflies and moths. And in addition to that enormous variety of fauna that we have, I think the Himalayas themselves are home to probably the world's greatest diversity after perhaps the Amazon. And I think, again, that is an enormous competitive advantage that we have as a country. And none of the countries that we are in competition with, at least in our immediate neighborhood, for the most part, can offer anything like that kind of diversity. We have the Himalayas, of course. As Vaibhav said, over 70% of the Himalayas is in India. Even though most people tend to think that Nepal and Bhutan are where the Himalayas are, in reality, it's most of it actually lies in India. And again, that is something that we are using to a great extent, and I hope that we continue to use. So we have the largest number of 6,000 meter peaks, we have the largest number of 7,000 meter peaks, and so on and so forth. And I think the government has in recent years done some welcome moves to open up some additional peaks. And I hope those any niggling concerns around that are sorted out, and we are able to welcome more and more expeditions to these wonderful environments. India's coastline, including the Andamans and the Lakshadweep, we have over 7,500 kilometers of coastline. Again, probably one of the longest in the world. And while there is a great deal of outdoor activities available in so many places, there are so many more undiscovered bits of India, the beaches and coastal parks and the reefs that still lie submerged. So I think again we offer every single environment in the world, and I think we are probably unique in this. An alternate country escapes me at the moment. I'm sure there may be some, but as a first-tier country, I think we have forests, we have mountains, we have water activities potential, we have deserts, we have snow. I mean, every single activity that you would ever want to do, every single environment in which you would want to do these activities in, I think you can find in India. Every state has something unique to offer. Whether you start from the northernmost bits of India, where it's snow and the huge peaks and the high peaks, down to, the amazing, northeastern parts of India, which still remain undiscovered for the large part. Or you come down to, the south of India, places like Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. I think there's, and of course the West, I think there is incredible potential, and each of these places offer different experiences and environments to do something in. The south offers fantastic rainforests, which are, which are the equal of perhaps most for rainforests in the world. We don't lack for water-based activities. The 7,500 kilometers of water of coastline that we have, and the innumerable rivers that we have. All of these are still there, and this is all discovered India. I think the point you're trying to make is that a large part of India still remains undiscovered. Yes, there are parts of India which have been discovered, which are becoming more popular for outdoor activities, which have been visited and are known across the world. But I think the next slide will talk about some of the places that we have not yet discovered. As we go forward, I think there is, while the Himalayas remain the most important destination for India from an outdoor activities perspective, offering things like whitewater rafting, skiing, climbing, big expeditions, and things like that. I think there are places like the East which are rising. The Northeast, the government has been doing some great shows and events in the Northeast, trying to promote it, and that's very welcome. Kerala has been offering some great potential to do outdoor activities. In fact, the minister in Kerala has said that outdoor and adventure tourism is one of the focus areas for this, probably one of the best known parts of India. Karnataka offers some fantastic wildlife with places like Nagarhole, or even rock climbing in places like Hampi. Goa, Andamans, East Coast, water activities remain preeminent. Even in lesser known places like Nethrani, which is a little place which is about an island 14 kilometers off the coast of Murdeshwar in Karnataka, that offers probably one of the best diving experiences of the mainland coast. There's been great scuba diving that's been started on the East Coast near Pondicherry and Chennai. Andamans, of course, offers probably one of the best scuba diving experiences in the world. And Goa is, of course, far more accessible for most people. But coming on to the next point, which is that while the previous slide talked about the discovered parts of India, I think there are so many other parts of India that are still waiting their turn and waiting to be discovered. I mean, if you look at places like Gandhamardhan Range in Orissa, or the Simlipal Wildlife National Park in again in Orissa, or the Gupteshwar Caves there, or places like the caving systems of Meghalaya, the Krem Dam, the Krem Riblai, the Krempuri, the Siju Caves. I think Meghalaya has made a name for itself in the caving community, and these are the things that again are waiting to be discovered and presented to a larger section of the consumer market. The West again, Gujarat, for example, I don't think we have still showcased the Ran or Gir enough. And I think there is so much more potential to showcase these fabulous places to the rest of the world and to our own domestic audiences within India. As I mentioned, with 7,500 kilometers of coastline, I think the potential to do scuba and water-based activities is almost limitless. And I think I think there has been good steps taken by several state governments, which we will see as we go forward, to kind of promote these kind of activities in many places. Aero adventure still remains very nascent. And again, the good thing about being nascent is that the potential to do so much more is always there. I think things like, places like the Western Ghats, Kamsher, and, places there, and a bit of paragliding in Kerala and Wagaman, the lower Himalayas, there's paragliding that's being done. But there are so many other aero-based sports that can be launched in India. And I think India has also been making moves as a country and as an association. We've been making moves towards making up some fantastic headline events. Now, headline events offer a great potential because they are very, very eye-catching. Now, one of the examples I always like to use is North Face as an adventure gear operator, as a manufacturer. Always advertises its $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 jackets on top of Everest or something like that. Now, the vast majority of us, I guarantee you, don't need those $4,000 jackets. But on the back of that, North Face sells a whole host of $250 and $400 jackets. And I think that is what these headline events can do. they grab the world's attention. Mega trails, things like, you know, a trekking trail across the Himalayas, starting right from the northern parts of India down to the east, across multiple states, which can be, you know, several thousand kilometers of trekking. Huge MTB trails which connect large parts of India. I think these are all headline events, and, you know, which will capture the world's attention. And I think we have been making some progress towards getting those kind of activities launched and rolling. So I think so we do have the potential. There is a big market there, and I think what is very good at the moment is that there has been a definite move towards trying and doing some progress, getting some progress in this area. The Adventure Tour Operators Association launched its guidelines back in 2018, which was endorsed by the Ministry of Tourism. It covers, you know, the skills, the protocols, and the standards for over 31 activities. A number of states have used that to, you know, build on and you know, make their own versions of these guidelines, and some have made it mandatory. The National Strategy for Sustainable and Adventure Tourism was released by the Government of India earlier this year. It's a very good guideline with a lot of potential, and I think it was released for industry comments and feedback, and we are very much looking forward to you know, having and seeing that in a holistic manner, being released very soon. The Bureau of Indian Standards has got into the act. It was about a couple of years back that the BIS set up a subcommittee specifically for adventure tourism. ATOI has the honor of chairing that committee, and we work along with the BIS. We work with international bodies in formulating ISO standards for various aspects of adventure tourism. The preeminent one being ISO 21101, which deals about safety, which is probably the most critical part of any adventure tour activity. Like I said, some states have commenced action as well on the ground. Most recently, Maharashtra, and just before that, Kerala, have made registration of adventure tour operators, their inspection and certification mandatory. That's absolutely essential, and it's a very, very welcome step, because the next step after that, you know, for insurance companies to offer very, you know, specific, tailored insurance products to cover, you know, adventure activities across the country. Other states like Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Andhra, and Uttarakhand is in progress. ATOI has been working these states to formulate very detailed for tourism. The Honorable Secretary for Tourism of the Government of India has kindly agreed to convene meeting of all the important point with ATOI, along with ATOI, and we hope that states across India will very soon look at making guidelines and registration and certifications mandatory. The final part of the puzzle is hosting and skill development. We have preeminent institutes like the HMIM and IWS and things like that. I think there are more. And again, we had places like do some training in Madhya Pradesh, courses along with ATOI, and there are many approach for development. I think all of these are kind of the point again we would like to make is that so while we have a market potential, it is also deeply heartening that the governments at the center and at the state are working with, you know, apex associations like ourselves at the ATOI to take full advantage of these opportunities that we have and to address that market in a very holistic manner. And I think that is what that is where we really want to go. The last part again is about sustainable aspects. I think starting with community development, Vaibhav alluded to in his opening speech. I think, you know, adventure tourism is by nature, it involves local community. You know, there's a huge deal of upskilling that happens because by definition, adventure tourism tends to happen in slightly more remote areas, where very often there is slightly less scope for employment. And I think things like adventure tourism offer immense opportunities for local communities to seek employment and have viable sources of income without shifting to the cities. I think every government in India, including the present one, I think one of the things that we would all like to see is to kind of at least slow down the migration from rural areas to urban areas and reduce the pressure that we are building up in our cities. And I think, again, adventure tourism can play a large role in that. Adventure tourism also makes sure that a large part of the pie stays with the local community. Most estimates are around 70 to 80% remains with local communities. And again, that is what makes it so viable for adventure tourism to flourish in remote areas. It's again by definition environmentally friendly because without there being nature, there really is no adventure. We can't, while there is, of course, man-made adventure parks and things like that, really, after a point, doesn't really compare with what nature can offer us. So preserving nature, preserving ecology, being kind to the environment, being sustainable, all of these really are second nature to most people in the adventure tourism industry. People who do these activities also tend to be far more aware of nature and far more nature friendly and environmentally friendly. They are more conscious of where they are. They generally don't litter, at least the more enlightened ones. And most responsible adventure tour operators a lot of pain to ensure that we remain sustainable and environmentally friendly. Using sustainable practices like less plastic, avoiding camps, limiting group sizes so that you not have a huge impact on where we are going, and things like that. Next step we are working towards is the latest term around regenerative tourism, where we try to leave a place better than it was. I think adventure tourism to some extent does that already, because just because of the economic impact that we have. A large part of and finally, I think tourism, as it moves to cover areas across the country, I think it can bring exposure to places which aren't quite so well known. I think there are numerous examples of that across the country, and I don't want to name it specifically right now, but I think it's obvious that as place becomes more popular for adventure tourism, there obviously is an exposure that happens to that place, and therefore there is added incentive for infrastructure to be built to access that particular location. So that forms the key points that I would like to really talk about. Just to kind of summarize what we said the last 20 minutes, so 25 minutes, I think the points we want to that there's a huge market. To remind you of the numbers, it's 1.8 trillion estimated in 2027. That's a huge market. And we would very much want to get a good share of that into our own country. We can do it because we have the potential to do that. We have so many different kinds of terrain, and we have an enormous domestic market which can do that. We have domestic consumers who want things that we can offer. And I think finally, we align very much with the sustainable principles to ensure that we are low impact, environmentally friendly. And I think all in all, I think future forward is very bright. I think we once the current challenges of our world perhaps die a little bit, I think there's a very bright future. That is from the education. Government mentioned every year, and we recently formed something called the role of women in adventure tourism space. Thank you very much, and thanks to all the patient listeners for found time today.
Thank you, sir. We are now moving to our next segment, which is the panel discussion on adventure and wildlife, the untapped potential of incredible India. Let me quickly introduce our distinguished moderator for the session and eminent panel speakers, Mr. Vinay Kaul. is the Honorary Secretary, Adventure Tour Operators Association of India. Mr. Cole is one of the directors at Snowline Expeditions Private Limited, and his company, under his leadership, won the National Tourism Award for the Best Adventure Tour Operator inbound a few years back. He is also a freelance empaneled expert with Bureau of Indian Standards for auditing adventure tourism safety management system. Mr. Vinayak Cole is promoter of the ideology of responsible tourism and strongly believes that in the coming years, India will be one of the most sought after adventure tourism destination in the whole world. Mr. Cole did his graduation from Symbiosis College, Pune in computer sciences and holds a master's degree in business administration. He has also completed mountaineering courses from some of India's prestigious mountaineering institutes. The panelists are Captain Swadesh Kumar. Captain Swadesh Kumar is the founder president of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India and is currently serving as the immediate past president of ATOI. He is the founder of Shikhar Travels Private Limited, which is a full-fledged destination management company and has been in the business since 1979. Captain Kumar is a pilot, mountaineer, environmentalist, and explorer, and is closely associated with the travel and tourism industry for the last 45 years. Mr. Ajit Bajaj. Mr. Bajaj completed the polar trilogy by skiing to the North Pole, South Pole, and across Greenland. He has scaled Mount Everest and won a bronze medal in the national games, 1 silver and 2 bronze medals in international rafting competitions. Mr. Bajaj is the managing director of Snow Leopard Adventures, 3 times National Tourism Awardee. He was the chairperson, Camping and Caravan Tourism Policies for Government of India, member of Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and served 2 terms as president of ATOI. Mr. Bajaj is a Padma Shri awardee and Hall of Fame by Indian Association of Tour Operators and Adventure Tour Operator Association of India. Ms. Akanksha Garg, a pioneer in sustainable and responsible tourism, Akanksha Garg is the director of Waxpole Hotels and Resort and the brains behind the Sundarban Tiger Camp and the Riverwood Forest Retreat in Dwars and Pench. She is well known as a prominent female hotelier in India and around the world. As a conservationist and advocate for sustainable tourism, Ms. Garg has been featured in a wide range of publications and media outlets. This woman's goal is to encourage, empower, and preserve the local people and wildlife habitats. May I now request Mr. Vinayak Cole to take over the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sonam. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you, Ministry of Tourism, for inviting me to moderate this very important session on adventure tourism in India at this very prestigious platform of Dubai Expo. Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends from all across the world. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you, the ones with us from there at the Expo. Hundreds of you, all who have joined us over Zoom, YouTube, and various social media channels. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedules. We are very passionate about this topic, and I believe so are you. That is why you are here. For the ones who have joined in just for the sake of curiosity, we promise you, you won't regret spending this time here. Let me, as always, begin with a little disclaimer that with the kind of size of our country and what all adventure products we have on offer, it's nearly impossible to talk and discuss adventure tourism in India within just 50 or 60 minutes. It needs a lot more than that. There are many possible adventure destinations in India, and each can take hours to talk about. And then if you pick up all 30 odd adventure verticals, it might take days. So we are going to try our best to do justice by touching upon some of the topics in the available time we have, along with speaking about a few other subjects related to adventure travel. Our aim is to leave you at least a little more enriched about adventure in India when you walk out of this session. In the current scenario, the COVID times, we all are aware how COVID has changed our lives for now and possibly for a very long time. How people plan their travel, on what they spend, with whom they travel, how long they would travel, etc., etc. In the middle of all this, adventure tourism gives a lot of hope. Terms like physical distancing, avoiding crowded places, respecting your body have been common in discussion in the last year or so, about 2 years now. And it's no brainer to see how adventure tourism can give answers to many of such large issues to a certain extent. The current times have reinstated that adventure and activity holidays are the way forward. India's potential for adventure tourism is immense. You talk about a type of holiday, you have that in India. Right from north to south, east to west, we have got destinations which have got fan following all across the world. My colleagues Vaibhav and Pradeep spoke at length and gave an overview with a lot of facts and figures about potential of our natural heritage, adventure products, our market size, various initiatives, etc. So I'm not going to repeat them. All I would like to say and emphasize is that India has got the potential to become the adventure tourism capital of the world. We have got it all what it takes in terms of products, expertise, global exposure, and whatnot. We just have to maintain the quality we provide and fuel our promotions to the next level at the world platform, which we have been trying to do with platform like today's. We will keep working towards it till we achieve it. And we all have that undying spirit of adventure within us to support it. With this, let me move to our panelists. Captain Kumar, if may start with you, sir.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me, sir? Yeah. So with you at our panel, sir, as an industry veteran who has spent decades in the adventure tourism industry, we feel tempted to hear from you the story of adventure tourism in India. Along with that, the changes you have seen all these years in business and other aspects, how it was 40 years back, then 20 years back, and now.
Vinayak, thank you very much for inviting me, and you want me to share my 45 years of experience in 45 seconds. Anyway, I'll try. You know, life is very interesting. Way back in 1974, I came to this business of tourism, but I never heard of adventure tourism. It was only adventure sports. And we always, when you climb a mountain, it was the preview of only the Army, Air Force, and the services sector. However, it started in 70s and civilians started joining in. Primarily, it was adventure sports. I was very fortunate to bring it to the adventure tourism. And the difference between sports and tourism is very thin line. And that is, if you go and climb a mountain or a track or go rafting, anything you do as a sportsman, whatever happens to you is your funeral, your decide. But however, if you join, go through a tour operator, tourism sector is involved, then safety is paramount, ensuring that everything is done properly and so on and so forth. So tourism has a very important role to play in this. Coming back to what I did in 75, it was very challenging for us. When I went to Japan for the first time, I must tell you, to talk about bringing Japanese mountaineers to India, I was talking Himalayas, they were talking of Nepal. It's very interesting. So all the time they're talking about Nepal. I said, hold on. India has 73% of the Himalayas. And then it was a very Herculean task. Then finally, and the tour operators are not listening. So I said, okay, what to do? I went to the Alpine Club, the source of business, and tried to convince them to come to Indian Himalayas, who have a huge, huge potential. And that gave me a chance to promote Indian Himalayas across the world. And we had huge pressure. In 1975, the Indian Himalayas opened up. There's a key to the whole thing. And before that, it was all closed. Only open was Central Himalayas and Himachal Pradesh. That was all closed. In 1975, a new trend started, new wave started, and we had a huge number of expeditions, treks in the Himalayas and stuff. Just to correct you, you know, in the 70s, mid-70s, the main thing was always walking, trekking, hiking, climbing, and not anything else at the time. However, in 80s, things changed. River rafting became more popular. In the 2019 and further, 2010, etc., the other activities came in. For example, you have a water sports, aerosports, so on and so forth, which have been already mentioned. What I want to tell you is very interesting. Is this question is very simple. When we started our work journey in climbing expeditions, that was in summer months, and our staff was free. What do we do? So we promoted camel safari, for example, bicycle tours, sailing in the Ganga, and so many other activities started. But one thing very interesting, in 80s and 90s and 2000, we had large number of days. Interestingly, it was expedition 40 days. a camel safari for 15 days, 11 days on camel bike. And Delhi to Kathmandu bicycle tour for 20 days. The Bombay to Goa bicycle tour for 18 days and stuff like this. However, now in 2010, 2020, things have changed. People have no time. Now, I'm quickly come to the current scenario. People have no time. What they want now is shorter period. They want to climb Mount Everest in 20 days, for example. So they want to do everything in 15 days or 10 days, and so on and so forth. It is only because people have no time. New kind of people have joined the business in terms of tourists. And so now new concept has come up, and that's called fully guided expedition. Maybe rafting, maybe climbing or trekking thing. Fully guided means everything is taken care of by the tour operator, which we are qualified to do so. However, the concept of adventure is kept in their hands. So that is the most important thing, which is so crucial and important. So I will say this way, the new trend has come up. There are huge aerosports. I mean, everything has been mentioned in the previous presenters. They have already told you all the things what are happening is. What I want to tell you is explain to you, my people who are listening to us, the current tour operators in this country are fully qualified, and with the best equipment they have, the best of trained staff they have, they can take care of your safety, guidance, recording, and everything. And please, when you choose a tour operator, current scene itself, just use an adventure tour operator who is duly recognized by AGY member. We are the best. You are partners in this business. It was a different story 30, 40 years ago. There was hardly any movement. Now, we are fully, everything is developed to a level where you can use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to hear you. So enlightening. Ajit, if I may ask you, can you hear me, Ajit?
Yes, please go ahead.
Ajit, you having experienced adventure travel in all 7 continents, which most of us are jealous of you, and done the 3 poles, South Pole, North Pole, even the Mount Everest, which of course need a lot of hard work. What is your favorite destination, adventure destination in India?
Vinayak, you've asked me a very tough question. I mean, there is so much in India. We are a subcontinent. It is impossible to pick one favorite adventure destination. Like our Director General Tourism, Mr. Rao mentioned, and both Vaibhav and Pradeep, my colleagues, also mentioned, we have every conceivable geographical terrain in India. We are a global biodiversity hotspot. We have rich fauna, flora, avifauna. We are home to some of the world's highest mountains, with 73% of a culturally diverse Himalayan range in our country. But it's not just that. It's also a rich cultural heritage, the stunning landscapes, amazing cuisine. India, for instance, has 13,857 named mountains. The highest and most prominent of which is Kanchenjunga, which is 8,586 meters high. I do strongly feel that India is going to be the global adventure tourism hotspot in the next 5 years or so. We have large wilderness areas. Actually, being in India is like being in an Indiana Jones film. Imagine you are trekking in the Markha Valley in the Hemis National Park in Ladakh, where you have the snow, the elusive snow leopard, and the bharal, the Himalayan blue sheep. And you come across a scenic village with very friendly local people and a monastery, which is about 400 years old. So talking about my favorite adventure destinations for trekking, I would pick, I think, Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim, and also the Trans-Himalayan region of Ladakh. Ladakh is also called the last Shangri-La, and also the Buddhist culture there. It's fascinating experience. For river rafting, in 1977, Sir Edmund Hillary led the Ocean to Sky expedition from Ganga Sagar in the Arabian Sea to Karan Prayag, high up in the Himalayas. And I would say the Ganga River and its tributary, these are our main rafting rivers in the country. But with such a large expanse of the Himalayas, India could very easily, in years to come, become the whitewater rafting and kayaking capital of the world. We have rivers like the Zanskar, and having rafted down the Colorado River, which is one of the natural wonders of the world, and having rafted down the Zanskar River with its gorge, with its gorgeous gorge, I would say that perhaps the Zanskar gorge is one of the most stunning rivers anywhere on the planet. We also have rivers like the Kali Sarda with an amazing amount of wildlife and waterfalls. We have the Siang, the Brahmaputra, as it's called, which is perhaps in one of the remotest parts of the planet. And what makes it very special is the local tribes and the ancient culture we have there. For mountaineering, gosh, again, this is a tough one. And I know there are many friends from different parts of the country who are going to give me a hard time for picking some of my favorite destinations here. But I would say Uttarakhand, with mountains like Shivling, Thale Sagar, and Nanda Devi, definitely has to be one of the prime mountaineering destinations in the world. There are over 7,000 meter mountains in Uttarakhand, but also you have states like Himachal Pradesh with easy access and many unclimbed mountains there. The Eastern Himalaya and Sikkim, Kashmir, Himalaya, Ladakh. There are still so many new routes and virgin mountains still to be attempted there. For sea kayaking, I would say definitely the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, but also one of the best destinations for sea kayaking is the backwaters of Kerala. And I know Pradeep from Kerala is going to be very happy to hear this. And for scuba diving, we have, of course, the two islands, Lakshadweep and Andamans, with a great amount of coral. But now there is scuba diving in Sindhudurg in Maharashtra and in Goa as well. For skiing, I would pick two destinations. One is Gulmarg in the Kashmir Himalaya, and the local hospitality in Kashmir and the après-ski. So after you ski, the food and hospitality all add up, other than the slopes in Gulmarg, to make a fantastic skiing experience. And of course, skiing in Oli with a backdrop of the Himalayan range and Nanda Devi, Hathi Parvat, that makes it a fascinating experience. Aerosports like paragliding, I would say the entire country, from the Sahyadris, places like Kamchet, to Bir and Billing in Himachal Pradesh, which is a global hotspot. And also the World Paragliding Championship was held there. I still have so much that I personally would love to explore in my country, in India, from caving in Meghalaya to still climbing and sea kayaking and going on a whole lot of treks, especially a lot of treks in places like Arunachal to go look for the clouded leopard. These are all, I think, once in a lifetime experiences that we have in India. Thanks, Vinayak.
Thank you, Ajit. I felt it, and I guess the viewers also must have been feeling that you should go on and on and on and keep telling us different parts of the country. And I liked it when you said you put me in a spot, because it's very difficult to put you in a spot on a regular day. Thank you, Ajit. It was lovely. So, Akanksha, I'm sure you're with us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Vinayak. Can hear you loud and clear.
From one star, what do I say, star to another. So, Akanksha, you run quite a few wildlife lodges in India, and good ones, I must say. I've had the pleasure of staying at them. And at the same time, you have traveled across to various national parks and reserves around the world. How would you compare product India in terms of our potential and our edge over what the rest of the world offers?
So, Vinayak, that's a very interesting question because, India is a very unique product as a whole. We are very diverse in culture, seasons, and terrain, like from the Himalayan mountains to the Kanyakumari sea coast, from the Thar desert of Rajasthan to the humid forests of the Northeast. India is one of the world's 12 mega biodiverse countries. And we have a lot of rich natural as well as cultural heritage. So when you talk about planning a holiday to India, you can actually experience a safari, a jeep safari in a landlocked region like such as central India, as in Madhya Pradesh, where you can see the big cats. So a lot of travelers who come to India actually come to see the big cats because this is the only place in the world where you can see 5 of them. One, of course, is the tiger, which you can see in central, northern, and eastern India. You can see the snow leopard, like Ajit just mentioned, in the Hemis National Park. And actually, you can do trekking while you want to go for this wildlife experience. So there's a twist, you can do your trekking as well as wildlife sighting. Then you can see the leopard, which is spread throughout the country from north of India to south of India. And something which is very interesting, Vinayak, wherever the tiger population is less, the leopard population is more. So we have a lot of places, a lot of rural villages, a lot of small national parks and tiger reserves, even like bird sanctuaries, which have leopard presence. Something again very unique to India compared to the rest of the world. Of course, you do have lions in Africa, but we have the Asiatic lions, and they're only found in Gir, which is in Gujarat. So coming to India, when I'm talking about these wildlife, talking about the big cats here, what is interesting is you come to one country, you make an itinerary to travel for say 10 days, 15 days, as much time as you have. You come with your family, you come with your friends, right? You can go to any park. There is no age bar. Like when I was traveling to Africa, what I noticed, Vinayak, was that my son, who's 7 years old, he couldn't travel when he was 5. So I had to postpone my travel by 2 years so I could take him to Africa. And now because of COVID, of course, we can't travel. But in India, this bar is not there. Even if you're 75, you're 90 years old, you can still go for a cruise safari. You can still go for a jeep safari. If you're fit enough, you can also do a walking and a bicycling safari. India is diverse, yes. Also, something which is very interesting is that when you come to India, we also have a mix of temperate and alpine forests in the central and western Himalayas and the desert forests in dry and semi-arid areas, right? Like Ajit was just mentioning. So when you come to, say, the little Rann of Kutch, over there you can see the Indian wild ass. You can see the blue bull, which is the largest antelope, India's largest antelope. You go to Viladra, you can see the black buck, and the predator is a wolf. So you can actually go for wolf sighting. And these wolves are not like the ones you see in Greenland, hefty, very strong. They're lean, they're longer from nose to tail. It's very exciting when you see them. You're like, oh, that's a wolf. Wow. You're actually seeing a wolf. It's gray in color. It's tall. It's very active, very smart. So I'll just share one quick experience with you, Vinayak. When I was traveling from Pench to Kanha, there was a herd of sheep, which a local man was taking, okay, in the evening time. Something very surprising. There was a pack of wolf, which was with the sheep inside, right? And they were waiting for this man to move away so they could kill one sheep and take it back. So, this is a kind of experience when you come to India, you can get. And it's completely safe because you're inside your vehicle. There's something which you can, and every day, every experience, every travel to every location is different. You travel to the northeast, you can see the one-horned rhinoceros. You can find them in Uttarakhand, you can find them in North Bengal in the Duas region, you can find them in the Kaziranga National Park. You go for a holiday to Calcutta, you can take a 2.5, 3 hours drive and go to Sundarbans. And you can do a cruise safari into the Sundarbans National Park, which is a World Heritage Site and a biosphere reserve. And what do you get to see there? You get to see the saltwater crocodiles, which are the biggest crocodiles in the world. You can only see them in Australia and in India. So if you compare around the world, the Nile crocodile and the saltwater crocodile are approximately the same size. And that's something which you can see in India again. The swamp tiger, which is the only one of its kind. It's a Royal Bengal tiger, who has adapted to living in the mangroves and will be only seen in the Sundarbans. If you go to the northeast, to the Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, you can see the Western Hullock gibbon. You go to the Desert National Park, you can see the preserved, it's actually a protected area. You have the Great Indian Bustard there. So if you want to do mix a cultural itinerary where you have your family, you have your grandparents, you have the parents, India is a destination for all generations to travel together. You come to Delhi, you can take a car journey or a flight to Jaipur, do a little bit of cultural experience, take a 3-hour drive, go to Ranthambore. Great itinerary, right? If you go to the Western Ghats, which is in the southern part of India, it's again very exciting because it has the black leopard. So in India, okay, you have the normal spotted leopard, but here you have the leopard, which is completely black because of the melanin content in its body. You can see it in Kabini, you can see them in Tadoba, you can see them in Pench. So suppose you're traveling to Bombay, just take a quick flight, 2 hours drive, and you're in Pench. And while you're going to Pench, you can actually do a complete circuit to go to Thana and Bandhavgarh and come and have a chance to see the swarm deer or see the sambar deer, which is one of the biggest deer which we have in India. Or if you go to, say, I mentioned Kaziranga. So India is a destination for everybody. You can also do butterflies sighting in the northeastern region of India. You can do great birding. So even if you talk about birding, Vinayak, it's interesting because each part of India is very unique. You can see the migratory birds and the endemic birds in the Himalayas. You can see the migratory ones who come down to Bharatpur or who also come down to Satal in Uttarakhand. So every destination which is religious or which is a metro city does have wildlife around it. And I encourage all travelers who are there today at the pavilion to visit India. India is safe. We have fantastic protocols in place like Ajit and Captain Kumar just mentioned. So do plan a trip with your family to India soon. Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you, Akanksha. It was lovely getting to know from you, and I just feel like packing my bags and moving into some wildlife destination. The tiger in your backdrop is looking at you and hearing patiently, and we all are looking forward to our next outdoor activity. Moving back to panel, Captain Kumar, if I may ask you, and you're smiling, I don't know what is. but let me first ask you what I have planned, and then you can come back with whatever you want to post back. So I would say, sir, what comes to my mind is most people in the world have this impression, if not all, that adventure in India is possible only in the summertime. But I'm aware you have always been saying that India is a 12-month adventure destination. Please guide us on the winter adventure possibilities and the destinations.
Vinayak, India is not only 12 months destination, 365 days destination. And I don't have to guide you, you know it yourself very well. That what's happening is, let's put in any activity, let's go for trekking. 60% of our business for adventure in the Himalayas is trekking. You can trek in January, February, March, April, May, June till December, depending on which area you want to go. You can trek in post-monsoon in Darjeeling and Sikkim area. You can do a pre-monsoon, and of course, you can also do in other areas also. What I'm trying to say is the trekking and climbing expedition now, you can do climbing Himalayas, peak. You can ski down the Kedarnath Dome, for example. Kedar Dome Peak, and things like this. Apart from this, what's happening is the last decade or so, many state governments have come up forward, almost all the states, there are 28 states, 8 union territories. Everybody's talking of trekking. So everybody's talking of adventure tourism. And very interesting thing is happening is there are many possibilities. For example, let's go to Rajasthan. They have a jeep safaris, they have camel safaris, they have wildlife parks. They also have very interesting things. You go to Gujarat, same thing is happening. Rann of Kutch is another one. You go to Kerala, you can go to Goa. Everywhere there's activity in winter months. Similarly, do a bicycling tour anywhere out in India. In fact, you can do bicycling. And you think of a month, you bring it, and I'll give you a place to go. You can go to Ladakh, you can go to Rajasthan, you can go wherever you like it. So what's happening is, today with the change of time, change of thinking, India has become 12 months destination for all the adventure activities. I also want to tell you, I should have told you before, that definition of adventure tourism has changed. Earlier definition was climbing mountain, so and so forth, and was it tough? You have to climb all this. No, not anymore. Three things are important. There should be human. There should be a activity. There should be nature, or meeting the local communities. Any two of them becomes adventure tourism. It's a new definition which came with in 2000 plus, in the current 20 years itself. So that means to say, all the activities in the country where there's activity involved comes under the adventure tourism bandit. So I will only say this to you very clearly, that we have adventure activities throughout the year. You name an activity, whether they're rafting, for example, you can do you can do rafting in all the time. Depends. The question is which area you want to go. You can climb a mountain, trek mountains. You can do water sports, aero sports, and all the stuff like this. So, and also please understand, we are now more experienced, more trained in terms of equipment, in terms of safety guidelines, in terms of fully prepare ourselves. So I suggest all my tour operators, travel agents, my consumers who are sitting here listening to us, please come to India. You dream a destination, dream which month you want to come, and we, the tour operators in this country, will give you a lovely holiday, fulfill your dream. Thank you, Vinayak.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ajit, I see you on my screen, and I feel like tempted to ask you this question, which I feel when you will answer would give confidence to world adventure travelers when they plan to travel to India. What are the risk mitigation steps taken by the industry for adventure tourism in India?
That's a very important question, Vinayak. But as far as risk management is concerned, we have our act together in India. There are 3 Gs for risk management in adventure tourism. These are guidelines, guides, and gear. The Indian Adventure Tourism Guidelines of the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India have been adopted by our Ministry of Tourism in 2018, and these are being implemented across the country. We have 31 different adventure sports covered under the guidelines. And as far as guides is concerned, there has been a focus on not just technical skill development, but also related skills such as first aid and CPR, communication skills, F&B, guest handling, soft skills, and also, most importantly, search and rescue. As far as gear is concerned, we are using gear at par with international standards in India. I think we have also world-class adventure outfitters ready to give you an adventure experience of a lifetime in the incredible Indian outdoors. Thank you.
Thanks, Ajit. Thanks. Akanksha, if I ask you, what would you recommend to someone who's coming to India for the first time? I mean, where to start from? And my question here is twofold. Someone who is a wildlife buff and someone who's not that much into wildlife, but just wants to come to experience it.
So thank you for the question, Vinayak. I think it's very important to plan a holiday. And I think the interaction with the team you're booking with, who's your friend, who's your resource, would be the step one to find out what are their interests. Are they interested in birding or are they interested in wildlife? If they're coming to India for the first time and they don't have any idea at all, my first recommendation would be that they fly into Delhi, because it is the capital of India. You have these amazing heritage buildings, gives you great exposure. You do a drive to Jaipur, or you fly to Jaipur. You see the palaces, because India is known for exotic destination. And then you take a short drive to Ranthambore. And Ranthambore is basically just for tiger sightings. But if you want to see a bit more and you're with a family and you want to experience real wide India, which is not very commercial, I would recommend that either you fly down all the way south, explore Kabini, Nagarhole, Bandipur National Park, which is very green. Go to the Periyar Reserve. So you can do a little bit of God's own country along with wildlife. That could be one itinerary. Another itinerary could be, of course, the one I mentioned, Delhi and North India, like the Golden Triangle, which is very popular. The third, and which actually I would advocate a lot, is for a wildlife enthusiast, is that they should fly either into Bombay, Delhi, or Calcutta. All our airports are very well connected to most of the national parks or the cities next to the national parks. And they can come to, say, Nagpur and do an itinerary of Tadoba, Pench, Kana, or combine Pench, Kana, and Bandhavgarh and fly out from Jabalpur or Raipur, again, which is a very well-connected airport. Something which is unique, when people are coming to India, Vinayak, is, we luckily offer accommodation of all types. You can get a 5-star hotel, you can get a bed and breakfast, because we are really encouraging homestays to come up in the wildlife sanctuaries, so you can explore how the local people live. But at the same time, you can actually choose a wildlife lodge or a wildlife retreat as well. Something with comfortable rooms, big space, where you can actually be with small number of rooms in the wilderness. So, and all these resorts which are there in the national parks, what's really unique about them is that they employ the local populace. So today, when we see that the local community is benefiting from tourism, they're becoming conservationists and protectors of the forest. And they're actually letting the wildlife population thrive. So today, when you go, for example, when a traveler is coming from abroad, they will say, okay, what do we see in India? What's different? What's different is the experience that you have being with a native in their land, understanding how they live off it, how they learn from it, how they survive in that terrain throughout the year. At the same time, for a tourist, this becomes a new experience, because when you're going to, say, we are generally compared a lot with Africa. So I would say if you're going to Africa, you're taken to a Maasai village. But we all know the Maasai villages now are just like an entertainment center. They're not really authentic. They've all been standardized. In India, you still get that raw, authentic experience when you are in the villages. When you're going to the Himalayas, you actually get to interact with the locals. You go to the Duars, you get to meet the Bhutias, you get to meet the Nepalese, you get to meet the local cultures, the people who make the place and who know the forest in the best way possible. And that experience, I feel, you don't get anywhere else. And I think it's also very important that when an itinerary is being made, we should definitely understand the kind of interest the person has, so that we can direct them to the right space. I was just talking to a friend today, and we were discussing, what kind of itineraries can you do in India to cover all the wildlife, literally just to see all the main, what I mean to say, the hyenas, the black buck, be it the sloth bear, wild dogs, gore, sambar deer, wolves, spotted deers, and the big five. You actually need 45 to 50 days to go to all the parks. But if you want to just keep a gist about the top big five, you can do it within a week as well. So depending on the kind of time you have in hand, India is a destination for everybody, and we can customize itineraries for you. And I think the biggest advantage we have today is that we have association of accredited, wildlife experts, or people who are experts in soft adventure as well as in rough terrain. So we are a destination for everyone, Vinayak. And recommendation, I would say, get in touch with a HUI certified agent. We have a website, and you can get in touch with any of us, and we can chalk it out as per your customization, for what your family would like to do. Would you like to do cycling? Would you like to do a motorcycle drive? Would you like to take a 4-wheel drive and go to the national park? Would you like to go in a gypsy? Maybe rent a caravan and go completely offbeat. All these kind of experiences are available. Even you can do a hide experience, go and live in a small cottage in the middle of the wilderness, like we have in Madhya Pradesh. You have this small, beautiful 4-bedroom place in the middle of nowhere, and you actually have wildlife coming right outside your room. And you have these local people who can cook you a nice, sumptuous, organic meal, which is directly sourced from the village. So, you're getting the best, freshest produce, you're getting fresh water, clean air, naturally distanced cottages. So, and India, okay, we understand that the population is big, but India is a big country. So the population is, of course, concentrated to the main cities. When you go to the rural areas, it's quite decentralized, it's quite open, it's an open expanse. And you can actually imagine, like Ajit was mentioning before, if you're going to the Hemis National Park, or if you go to Nubra Valley, you can actually just go outside in the open and lie down and see shooting stars. You can see the clear Milky Way galaxy. That experience you cannot get in any other place in the world. It's India. It's incredible as it is. So that's all I would like to say. Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you, Akanksha.
Yeah.
My last one, I would like to ask you, Ajit, before I move on to the questions which we have from the from audience and from various channels. We've got some overwhelming response for the question. Let me tell you, and I'll try and pick up some. But my last one to you, Ajit. The world wants to hear, and we keep on talking about leave no trace ethos in India by the adventure industry. Would you like to speak about it?
Sure, Vinayak. As adventure tour operators, we are conscious of our responsibility to our wilderness areas. We are strictly following the age-old rule of the great outdoors. Take only photos, leave only footprints in letter and spirit. The United Nations World Tourism Organization Global Sustainable Tourism Criteria was adopted by our Ministry of Tourism. We've tweaked it, and we now have the Sustainable Tourism Criteria of India. And the National Strategy for Sustainable and Adventure Tourism, the draft is out, was out in 2021. This is work in progress. But I think as an industry, the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India, we are passionate about the great outdoors. And whenever we are out to our wild areas, to our wilderness areas, we like to serve as honorary wardens. Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you, Ajit. Captain Kumar, I have a question for you from the audience. Question is quite short, but probably answer would be a little longer. They are asking, what is the best time for trekking in South India?
Winter months. You come in winter months, starting from October to March, April.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And there's so many short treks, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And in fact, very interestingly, I have a list of all the 28 states in the country have highest mountains, starting from 1,000 meters to 8,000 meters. So the question is, you can climb mountains in winter months in South India without any problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Akanksha, the next one looks like for you, because I see tiger everywhere. The question says, apart from the tiger, which is the star of Indian wildlife scene, what else would you suggest people to come to India for?
Tiger is a tiger.
Sir, that Akanksha would be able to explain.
So India is generally known for its tiger, because that's what people generally talk about. But I would request that you come to India for the elephants. You can come for the Indian one-horned rhinoceros, which is only found here. You can come for the Asiatic lion, which is only found here. You can come for the wolf. You can come for the Bengal fox. There's so much you can see. The Indian bustard, depending on what you would like to see. Are you more into mammals? Are you more into predators? Are you more into raptors? Are you more into insects? Let me know, and I can advise accordingly. India is a diverse country. I would tell you to come for everything. Come here, spend your time, see the place.
Thank you. Ajit, someone wants to ask that yes, the Everest is the epitome of climbing in the world, but if I don't want to travel to Nepal or don't want to spend so much, what would you recommend in India?
Again, Vinayak, that's a tough one. We have so much in India. We have the largest concentration of 7,000-meter mountains on the planet in India. And, whether you're looking, if it's relatively easier mountaineering experience and you're looking at climbing a trekking peak, we have options in Ladakh, in Himachal, all over the country, to some of the highest mountains, Kanchenjunga, which is the third highest mountain on the planet, in Sikkim. But there's a whole lot of other exciting mountains like Nun and Kun. You can see that behind Captain Swadesh Kumar on his, and so there are, I would say, India has all the options possible for mountaineering, from easy trek peaks where you can gain your mountaineering skills. I also want to mention that we do have some world-class mountaineering institutes in India: the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering at Uttarkashi, the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute in Darjeeling. We have institutes in Gangtok, in Manali, in Gulmarg, and so on. These are all world-class institutions. So if you're looking at mountaineering or mountain adventures, trekking, just come to India, look no further.
Thanks, Ajit. And adding to that, if I may say so, that what I know, there are a lot of people who come to India to train for their adventure, for their Everest summit. I mean, there are huge possibilities to come to India and do their training for long times and experience India at the same time. So immense potential.
Absolutely. So before Everest, what you do want to do is get onto a mountain which is about maybe 6,000 to 7,000 meters high. So there are many options in Ladakh, from Kangyatse to, of course, Nun and Kun that I mentioned. These are relatively easily accessible, and in about 2 to 3 weeks, you can do a solid training expedition for an 8,000 meter mountain.
Thanks, Ajit. Sonam, that was all the questions from my side. Do you have anything at your end or from the tech team which I can ask? That we still have got a couple of minutes to ask.
I just want to tell something, if you permit me.
Yes,
is this that the controlling authority in India for climbing expedition is Indian Mountaineering Foundation, which is a central body, which is a body duly approved by the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Sports, Government of India. And if you want to climb a mountain, you do visit their website, apart from our association website, and they have a huge number of peaks available. Who are the restricted areas and open areas. They can have a look and see that they can make an attempt on this. As I just mentioned to you, for climbing Mount Everest, they can do it slowly, they can do 6,000, 6,500, 7,000, and then Mount Everest. So I think they must visit Indian Mountaineering Foundation, IMF website, to get a huge list of all the information they have on climbing expeditions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sonam, do we have anything from your side?
No, sir, there aren't any questions.
Okay. So friends, I mean, watching us from all across the world, I hope you found value in the time you spent over here. The adventure session continues. The panel discussion ends over here. I hope you had a good time. And we have some lovely presentations from our colleagues from different states lined up and taking you to different parts of the country in a different manner. So we hope you enjoyed the session. We tried our best, and thank you so much for watching. Over to you, Sonam.
Thank you, sir, for the panel discussion. May I now invite Mr. Abu Taeng, Director Tourism, Government of Arunachal Pradesh, for his presentation. Mr. Taeng is the Director Tourism, Government of Arunachal Pradesh. He's the founder of Orange Festival of Music and Adventure, Dambuk. Is an expert in river rafting, angling, trekking, expedition, and camping, and on-off-road enthusiast. He also plays an active role in wildlife conservation. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone on this esteemed panel. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a very small presentation which we have. I hope I am audible. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. So we are the largest state in the Northeast, almost 84,000 square kilometers of it, stretching from the west bordering Bhutan to the east bordering Myanmar. We share 4 international borders and a wide range of terrain and climate, ranging from high Himalayan peaks down to grassy river plains, and which has a lot to offer for adventure lovers and wildlife. These are some of the products which we have. Of course, I won't bore all of you of explaining what all this is, but for rafting and kayaking, we have some of the best rivers in the country. So mostly unexplored. I have done all the rivers in the state, of course. That's why I know it's one of the best in the country. It's really virgin and it's waiting to be explored commercially. Of course, paragliding we are taking up in the state, few places, which I think will give the famous places in the country a run for its money. Like Machuca is there, then of course Papu Valley is there. It's really picking up. Trekking, of course, has been there for quite some years now. It was one of the premier product which the state had to offer. New routes are being opened up as we speak. Like I could mention the Bailey Trail, which is very high altitude, about 13,000 feet, 14,000 feet trekking trail, which lasts about 11 to 12 days. Then, of course, the Pemaco Trail is there. It's also called the Shangri-La or the Lotus Land Trail, which is very inviting for spiritual tourism too. Then, of course, the state has a lot of rhododendron growths, so numerous varieties. So this is another trail which people could do, I mean, trekking and all. Then, of course, the Tale Valley, which is there, with Tale Valley Trail, which is in Lower Subansiri, which actually combines wildlife sightings with nature trails. It's a high altitude trek too. Then, of course, a recent addition to the trekking itinerary is the Seven Lakes Trek. It's in Dibang Valley of Arunachal, in eastern side of Arunachal. It's a very high altitude trail, starting from 5,000 feet to about 14,000 feet. It offers high altitude grassy plains and high altitude lakes. Of course, wildlife sighting and the sheer beauty of the high altitude lakes is something to die for. Then also we have in the same district, we have the Dree Valley Trek. It goes up from 5,000 to about 13,000 feet. Mishmitakins is seen in huge numbers. I have personally done this trek myself, and I can vouch for it. Then, of course, when we come to angling, which I am I mean, I wouldn't say an expert, but it's a passion for me. So I could be an authority, I can say, in Arunachal angling scene. Naturally, of course, when Arunachal people talk about angling, then people say talk about the golden mahseer, but I would also suggest that we don't forget the goonch, the chocolate mahseer, or the copper mahseer, also the rainbow trout, the brown trout, snakeheads, and the barali. Almost all the rivers in Arunachal are fit for angling. And of course, for wildlife tourism, this is Northeast India's largest, northernmost and greenest state, almost 82% forest cover, and one of the greatest biodiversity hotspots. Recent good news is that we had snow leopard sightings in Tawang and West Kameng districts of Arunachal. This is the state which offers the eagle nest birding, which is famous for birding, and also the Bugun loisikla, which is found in eagle nest. Then, like I said, it has 80% forest cover and accounts for India's significant portion of India's natural wealth. The best part about our state is that we have very low density of population. Like Dibang Valley has just 1 person per square kilometer. The whole state, has very low density of about 14 lakh population in an area of 84,000 square kilometers. And it's virgin, therefore every year, every time new species are being discovered every year, and making it a mecca for wildlife enthusiasts, scientists, and research people. Wildlife travel in Arunachal is more of an immersive wilderness experience, engaging not just with animals through a long lens or a pair of binoculars, but for also the forest and tribal cultures that call them the home. Most forests here have traditionally been managed responsibly by the ancestors of the local tribes, and strict rules against cutting old trees or killing big cats way before the concept of tiger reserves even existed. We have about 11 wildlife sanctuaries, 3 national parks, 1 biosphere reserve. It is the home to the big cats. Namdapa is home to 4 big cats: the leopard, the snow leopard, cloud leopard, and the tiger. Birding in Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary, Pake Tiger Reserve, Namdapa National Park, and the Mishmi Hills is very popular. And I would say Namdapa has about 450 odd species of butterflies. And the Mishmi Hills, of course, is giving it a run for its money. It's also a very new discovered area, so a lot of things to be discovered about it. Then, of course, we have, like Akanksha mentioned, we have the Hollow Gibbon, which is available in Dibang Valley or Lower Dibang Valley area, which is the only ape found in India. And of course, now, recent times, taking a cue from Meghalaya, we have also started with caving, as we're trying to promote the state as a caving destinations. Numerous caves have been discovered in Upper Subansiri, Siang, and Lohit districts of Arunachal, which we are now documenting and trying to put them on the tourist map. And these are just some of the pictures that I'm sharing of camping and places where tourists could go. We have like the Dong Valley, which is where the country gets its first sun rays. Then, of course, like I mentioned, paragliding is taking off in the state, which people could experience in Lamdang and Mechuka. Then trekking, of course, I mentioned already. Then that's angling in all the rivers. That's me in one of the pictures with one of my catches. Mountain train biking, which we have recently introduced, which is picking up in the state. Then, of course, I spoke about wildlife, all the wildlife that is available in the state. Then Namdapa is there. Recent camera trappings, photos are here. Then butterflies we spoke of, and the caving we spoke of. And I'd just like to mention that the land of high mountains, deep gorges, free-flowing rivers and landscapes ranging from dense tropical rainforest, high altitude wetlands, and alpine forest to rugged snow-clad peaks, Arunachal Pradesh is full of adventure and wildlife waiting to be explored. So I would like to welcome every one of you to at least plan a visit, one visit at least, which I'm sure you'll not be disappointed in Arunachal. Thank you. If time permits, I'd like to leave you with a small video of one of our trips down the Subansiri River. Video, please, if. Sonam, if the video could be played, please.
Sure, I'll just tell the technical team to do it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. Now I'll move on to inviting Mr. Karthikeya S, Chief Naturalist, Jungle Lodges and Resorts Limited, Karnataka, for his presentation. Mr. Karthikeyan is associated with the Jungle Lodges and Resorts Limited as a Chief Naturalist for over 15 years, Prior to this, he was with WWF India. Karthik has numerous publications to his credit with his photographs and articles. He was conferred with the Carl Zeiss Award for Conservation in 2013. Over to you, sir.
Okay, I hope I'm audible to all of you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be sharing the stage with several dignitaries who have already spoken on the topic of biodiversity, wildlife, and adventure tourism. And it's indeed a great pleasure to be talking about Karnataka and sharing what Karnataka has to offer. And earlier during the talk, Mr. Pradeep Murthy did talk about what India has to offer. And I would probably want to mention here that Karnataka can perhaps meet most of those offerings, barring just a couple of them. And that's how we have the tagline, Karnataka, one state, many worlds. Having said that, I will quickly move on and talk about what I'm here for. And Karnataka is the biggest South Indian state. And when you're talking about the largest state in the peninsula, it also means that you are also covering a lot of different kinds of landscapes. Along with it comes great opportunities and great offerings when you're talking about both wildlife and adventure. Of course, we perhaps may not be able to beat Arunachal, like Mr. Abu Tayang mentioned. And I'm saying this also from personal experience because I've been to Arunachal several times. And that's a state which has a lot of offering for anybody who is interested in nature and wildlife. And of course, in recent times, adventure tourism. But Karnataka, if you are flying into South India, I think we can offer you pretty much everything other than perhaps snow and desert. Barring these two, I think we should be able to give you an experience of pretty much everything else that India has to offer. Just to give you a brief of what we have by way of the natural heritage, we have about 5 national parks, we have 32 wildlife sanctuaries, we have 14 conservation reserves, and of course we have more than a third of the entire Western Ghats, which is a a heritage site. It's a biodiversity hotspot, one of the 25 biodiversity hotspots of the world, and we have a third of all of that within the state of Karnataka. And with over an area of more than 38,000 square kilometers, approximately accounting for 20% of the state's landscape and a forest cover, we have immense potential when it comes to any offering to do with wildlife. Going a little further, talking about the biodiversity per se, you will see the list there. If you're interested in plants, we have immense potential there. We have some of the very, very rare plants that occur in India, including some interesting habitats like the Myristica swamps, which are very, very ancient habitats that we have in on the planet, and the plants thereof. We have over 120 species of mammals. We have about 570 species of birds, which is close to half of all the birds that are found in the country. We have several species of reptiles, several more are being discovered as we speak. And we have about 320 species of butterflies as well. And what is more important here is to understand that many of these species, be it plants or animals or reptiles or butterflies, or maybe even amphibians for that matter, are all endemic to the state. And many of them are not found anywhere beyond the boundaries of the state as well. So this is something which is very important for us to remember. And if you are somebody who is deep into wildlife, has this penchant to see endemics and stuff like that, Karnataka is a great place to go. If you are somebody who wants to see the larger mammals, of course, Karnataka is the state to go to. If you are looking at an experience with elephants, we have the largest population of elephants in the country, and we are also the state with the largest, or maybe the second largest This number keeps changing by the year. And also we are constantly in race with MP, Madhya Pradesh for the top spot. But we have over 300 tigers in the state, and several national parks like the ones that have already been mentioned, like Nagarhole National Park and the Bandipur National Parks, are great places to go to see the these big cats, and of course the elephants and several other species that I just mentioned a little bit earlier. Also, like I said, having such a large area and being the largest state in South India, we have fairly widespread habitats that we have, from the Western Ghats, of course, we spoke about. We also have the Eastern Plains, which are, again, very lovely places if you want to experience the arid area fauna and flora. You have everything from the only sloth bear sanctuary in the country in Daroji, very close to Hampi, which is again a World Heritage Site. We also have black buck sanctuaries on the eastern parts of the state. So we have several offerings that you may want to indulge in if you are visiting Karnataka. Just a brief glimpse by way of images of the biodiversity we have. Like I said, we have very, very rich flora. Again, from the eastern dry areas to the evergreen Western Ghats, we have an amazing diversity of flora. Some of them are mind-blowing. Some of these things are best seen better than me describing them. Fungi, often not really talked about, but in many of our forests in the Western Ghats, we have some amazing fungi, like the one that you're seeing on screen, including the ones which are bioluminescent and so on and so forth. And they are a very important group of organisms too. Increasingly, the interest in fungi seems to be growing world over. And I think Karnataka has a lot to offer for somebody who wants to see fungi. Monsoons and post-monsoons can be great times to see and appreciate fungi. Butterflies, like I said, over 300 species, many of them amongst the most beautiful butterflies in the country, including the largest of the Indian butterflies occurring in Karnataka, which also happens to be the state butterfly of Karnataka. You also have really tiny insects like this one, which is absolutely out of a science fiction thing, which has eyes which are placed on stalks sticking out of its head. So very tiny creatures, less than a centimeter long, but fascinating indeed. We have one of the 3 species of crocodiles that are found in the country. Like I said, we have birds, we have 4 species of hornbills, not to talk about the other 500 plus species that I just mentioned a minute ago. We also have mammals which are not amongst the charismatic species, including the grizzled giant squirrel, which is an endemic to peninsular India. Not screen sharing. Your presentation. It was not shared. Oh, are you on the Zoom call? Yeah, I am. Oh, I wish I told this earlier. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Right. Sorry about that bit of technical glitch. Like I was mentioning, we have not just the charismatic mammals, we have a lot of others as well. We have squirrels like the grizzled giant squirrel, the size of a domestic cat, which is endemic to peninsular India. We also have the massive Gaur. And of course, we have the gentle giants, the elephants. And it's quite a fascinating time that you can have watching these elephants go by whatever they are doing. And it's amazing, as always, to see them in serene settings. Of course, we have the roseted leopard, fairly often seen in many of our wild areas. I think Akanksha mentioned about the leopards and its widespread nature of the leopard. And of course, we have the tiger, of which we have about 300 in the state. So Karnataka is a great place to go to, a fabulous place. Also for adventure tourism, we also have several things in offering. If, like I said, if you are coming into South India and you still want to do a little bit of whitewater rafting, it's a place that you can still do this. Great place for whitewater rafting in places like Dandeli. You could do kayaking. We have fairly large water bodies and rivers on which you can do your kayaking. And of course, you can indulge in treks, again, depending on your needs. It could be fairly tough treks, or you could indulge in some gentle walks into the forest as well, depending on your capability and time and various other factors. Of course, you could go on a wildlife safari, and seeing some of these gentle giants is a fairly often experienced thing. And it's quite amazing as to how lovely these ancient creatures are. Adventures, again, not necessarily to do with wildlife, but also other stuff. You have high rope courses, which was talked about earlier by one of the panelists. Spoke about bouldering. Hampi is a great place to go to if you want to do bouldering, if you want to see wildlife, if you want to indulge in a little bit of heritage, all of which can happen while you're in Hampi. Some of the important destinations to experience when you're in Karnataka, speaking about wildlife, just the top 3 places that I'm mentioning here could be Bandipur, could be Kabini, could be Bhadra, could be several other places, but then I'm just mentioning 3 places which are all largely in the Western Ghats. Of course, if you are looking at the Eastern Plains, then you have a whole array of other destinations as well. While you're looking at adventure, whitewater rafting, Dandeli is a great place to go to. Hampi is a great place for bouldering. Diving, which was again mentioned by Mr. Pradeep Murthy. Netrani is a great place to go diving to see amazing marine creatures as well. Treks, there are several treks that are possible even out of Bangalore, but depending on where you are in the Western Ghats, you can do treks of different difficulties. So it's entirely up to you as to what you want to choose and plan your trip. There are several places where you can stay. Jungle Lodges is one of the leading operators in this area. It's a government entity having 28 properties right across the state of Karnataka, from the crown of Karnataka, which is Bidar, all the way down to Kabini in the south, from Devbag in the east on the coast to Hampi on the Devbag on the west on the coast to Hampi in the eastern plains. We also have several other private operators. Depending on your budgets, you could choose what you want to, where you want to stay. We also have several homestays in many places, Chikmagalur and Coorg, leading with a large number of homestays in these landscapes. Bangalore is extremely well connected. We all know that Bangalore is very well connected, but Karnataka is also connected through several other airports. Depending on where you want to go, you could come into Goa and get into the northern parts of Karnataka as well. There are several other airports that connect Bangalore, the state, to the rest of the world. Within the state as well, we have a very good road connectivity. So traveling from one place to another is not a difficult thing at all. So it's a great place to go to. Like I said, Karnataka is one state which can offer world of experience, from wildlife to adventure, pretty much everything that you would want to on a holiday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. I would now like to invite Orissa Tourism for their presentation.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
And is the presentation visible to all of you? Kindly confirm. Is the presentation visible?
Yes, it is. You can see it.
Ms. Sonam, can you please confirm?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. A very good afternoon, good evening, and a happy new year to all the participants, my fellow speakers and resource persons for this today's very important session on wildlife and adventure tourism of India. I am Mohammad Nahar. I am the project management unit head of Odisha Tourism, and I have the pleasure of giving a small presentation on the wildlife and the adventure tourism profile of Odisha. Since we are presenting this to a global audience, I felt it is important for me to talk about Odisha in brief. Odisha, as many of us know, is a state located in the eastern part of India, and it is a state blessed with almost everything that a traveler can imagine, except for my previous speaker has talked about, talked in the case of Karnataka, the snow-clad mountains and the deserts. We have almost everything in Odisha. What we have here is, pristine beaches and different water bodies, lakes, rural areas, monuments of different types, be it UNESCO World Monument to different state level monuments, forests and wildlife, crafts, adventure, etc. Now, before I get into the topic of today, the wildlife and adventure tourism profile, I thought it is also important for me to talk a bit about where Odisha as a state stands in terms of its economic and social progress. So as you can see in this slide, we are amongst India's top 3 investment destinations consistently for last 15 years. In the year 2019, we've got the distinction of attracting maximum investments. We produces 20% of steel and 54% of aluminum in India. We have received various awards, including the award from Niti Aayog for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Over a period of last 1 decade, Odisha has reduced its poverty rate to almost 24%. And we are also a leading state in the country when it comes to rural and urban housing, rural roads, agriculture, fisheries, and tourism. Now, coming to the tourism profile of the state, as I mentioned earlier, it has almost everything that a tourist or a traveler would like to have, be it the spiritual and heritage tourism, wildlife and ecotourism, sports and adventure tourism, coastal and wetland tourism, where we have some very important destinations like Chilika Lake, Bhitarkanika mangroves, various dams, including one of the world's largest dam called Hirakud, art and craft tourism, ethnic tourism, fairs and festivals, etc. Now, in terms of adventure and wildlife tourism, what makes Odisha a strong contender or a destination which one would like to visit are these points. Number one, we've blessed with 482 kilometers of long, sandy, untouched coastline. There are some beaches in this coastline who have been, exposed for tourist visitation, primarily Puri Beach and Konark Beach, etc. But a lot of other beaches are yet to be opened up for visitation. And we, in fact, are blessed with, a lot of forest cover. Almost 40% of Odisha's geography is under forest cover. And we are also having Asia's largest brackish water lagoon and world's second largest brackish water lagoon called Chilika Lake, which attracts a lot of migratory bird during the winter season. And in fact, just a few days back, there was a survey being conducted, and the survey results shows that almost 12 lakhs different bird species, different birds are found in Chilika. Apart from that, we have, as Akanksha was talking about, Sundarbans as India's largest, and perhaps one of the world's largest mangrove ecosystem, Sundarbans. The second largest mangrove ecosystem in India is located in Odisha. It is a national park called Bhitarkanika National Park, where wildlife enthusiasts would like to visit Bhitarkanika for its estuarine crocodiles, fishing cats, dolphins, kingfishers of 8 different varieties, mangrove pitta, etc. And we are also blessed with 2 tiger reserves and 1 biosphere reserve. And of course, since we are part of the Eastern Ghats, there are hill stations like Daringbadi and Koraput, which are also an attraction for nature lovers and adventure lovers. And we are also blessed with different rivers, including Mahanadi, valleys, gorges, waterfalls, and many more. Now, specifically on the wilderness side, as I mentioned earlier, we have 1 national park, which is Bhitarkanika, 2 tiger reserves, including Similipal Tiger Reserve. And Similipal happens to be a very unique tiger reserve. It's approximately around 2,400 square kilometer area. And it has a lot of waterfalls, including the second tallest waterfall of India. And in Similipal Tiger Reserve, we come across 92 different types of orchids. And of course, we are also, fortunate to have the melanistic tiger, which is found only in Similipal. And of course, this forest is blessed or surrounded with sal forest. Now, when it comes to Gahirmatha Marine Sanctuary, it is considered to be Asia's largest rookery of endangered olive ridley turtles. Chilika's lagoon, as I mentioned earlier, is world's second largest and Asia's largest brackish water. It is a Ramsar site. It hosts more than 1 million birds every passing year. In Chilika, there's a particular location called Satpada where one can come to see Irrawaddy dolphins. Now, from the adventure perspective, what we are offering are a variety of things, be it water-based adventure or land-based adventure or air-based adventure. From water sports perspective, we are promoting activities like parasailing, surfing, scuba diving, snorkeling in various parts of the state, particularly in on the beaches. And we have nature camps which have been set up by the State Forest Department in various destinations and protected areas of the state where visitors can go, stay, experience the wilderness. There are paragliding and trekking activities which the state government is promoting in different parts of Eastern Ghats. One can go for jungle safari in various wildlife sanctuaries. And there is this road trips which we as the tourism department is promoting, especially during this pandemic period, because what we realized is Odisha has some of the best road network, be it rural roads or even highways, both national as well as state highways. And these are roads which passes through some of the most beautiful landscapes and untouched areas of the state. So we are promoting road trips for which we are providing information and facilities for the visitors throughout the state. Last but not the least, we are also promoting some of these very niche and adrenaline sporting events like Herculean Triathlon, for example. So we have hosted this international event in Konark last year, and this year this was supposed to happen by the end of January, because of this latest pandemic threat, we are now considering it to postpone this event. Alongside, I would also like to mention some of the recent initiatives of Odisha Tourism Department to promote adventure and nature-based tourism. The most important amongst all is this glamping event called Eco Retreat. This product we have launched in the year 2019, initially at Konark along the sea beach. But over the years, we have expanded this to 5 destinations last year to 7 destinations this year. So these are pristine locations which are located, nearer to a wildlife sanctuary or a hill station, where these type of luxury tented cottages are being set up for people to come, stay there, and involve in various activities. Road trip I've already mentioned. The idea is to promote road-based travel, connecting different cities and important towns adjoining Odisha. Nature camps are basically those properties being run by local communities who have been trained to undertake various hospitality and ecotourism based services. And we are involving private sector participation, hugely for promoting adventure sports. We have set up boat clubs in various, important destinations of the state, like nearer to Cuttack city, a boat club named Silver City Boat Club have been set up by the government. In Hirakud Reservoir, a new boat club is under development. And of course, in Puri and that beach zone, there are various points at which various types of adventure sports are being promoted through private sector participation. Now, some of these upcoming initiatives which government is currently working on, number one, camping. So for camping, we have identified some of the most beautiful untouched locations of the state, where government will support, government will provision supporting infrastructure, be it water supply, power supply, access, etc. But we will encourage private investors to come and set up these camps and operate it over the years. Caravans, boat clubs, sailing. Sailing is another area which we wanted to promote in Odisha. We have realized that Chilika Lagoon has a lot of potential for sailing related activities. So we are presently working to develop this area as well. Now, before I conclude, because of all these, consistent efforts which the state government is taking up to improve tourism profile of Odisha, we have received various awards and recognitions. Some of them I thought would be interesting for today's audience. So we have received the best state award by Travel and Leisure magazine through their Reader's Choice survey. And Mayurbhanj district of Odisha has been rated as one of India's best offbeat destination. We have received Responsible Tourism Awards for the best future forward state for all those responsible and sustainable tourism initiatives which we have been undertaking. Before I end my presentation, I would like to request all our audience to take a note of these email IDs and Twitter handle. Kindly write to us for your inquiries, for collaborations, for any communication that you would like to have. Please write back to us. And I take this opportunity to invite each one of you to come visit Odisha, India's best kept secret. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. We now move on to the question and answer session. And I'm just looking into the YouTube chat to see if we have received any questions. There aren't any questions that we have received. So may I now request our Honorary Secretary Vinayak Kaul to do the closing remarks, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Sonam. Friends, with this, we come to the end of our session. It was great to hear all our distinguished speakers, and I'm confident that the wisdom shared by all of you today would help us in scaling newer heights for Indian adventure tourism at the world level. I extend my gratitude to all of you. A big thank you to all the people who have been listening to us there at the Expo and via various online modes. Let me assure all of you who are listening to us and have got tempted to travel to India post our session, India is as safe to travel as any other country in the world can be in the current COVID times. Let me also assure that all the responsible adventure service providers who have started their operations are very serious about COVID guidelines. They have been working day and night before they open shop. There are SOPs in place and they are being followed in letter and spirit. We are closely working with the central and the state governments on many fronts, such as streamlining travel in COVID times, getting some added benefits when you travel to India. The central government has recently announced free tourist e-visas. Regular flights will come soon. There were plans to open the skies from 15th of December, but then Omicron had its way. Omicron wave has to die down in some time. And thank God that it is not that life-threatening as per the reports coming in. So as soon as the wave dies down, do plan your travel to India. Get in touch with your service provider locally. Get in touch with your partners in India and book that holiday at the earliest. We are eagerly waiting to welcome you here. I take this opportunity to thank FICCI for their support. Last but not the least, thank you, Ministry of Tourism, for giving ATOI this opportunity to showcase Indian adventure product at this platform. Thank you. Jai Hind. Over to you, Sonam.
Thank you all. With this, we close the webinar. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.